Welcome to Don't Be Caged by Your Age, Mimi Donaldson. I'm so happy you're here to share how you are shattering age related expectations. How are you?
Very good. Thank you.
Listeners, I've known Mimi since the year 2000 when I introduced her at a large annual women's leadership event where she was a keynote speaker and the Lyons Den. We were living in Pacific Palisades at the time. And Mimi, you were living in Marina Del Rey. And I have to tell you, Mimi became a favorite and beloved member of the Lyons family. And our sons adore you, Mimi. And Chet, my husband, and I love you to pieces. So I am so thrilled that you're here. And listeners, another little sidebar. I've interviewed Mimi on several of my prior podcasts over the last 12 years. And I am so thrilled she's joining me today to share how she's thriving after 65 because she's so amazing and delicious. Mimi, here on the Don't Be Caged by Your Age podcast, we age out loud. So please share with folks, what is your age and where do you hail from?
I am a proud 76 and a half, and I am still in Marina Del Rey, California.
Oh my gosh. And for over 20 years, you were a speaker who captivated audiences from the Fortune 100 to the just plain fortunate. And you've won acclaim for your rousing keynote speeches, compelling workshops, and in house training programs. And I can attest, I'm waving wildly here, and I have my clappers out for those watching the video. How wonderful and inspiring Mimi always was, had us laughing out loud. But not only that, Mimi, you've published books from Negotiating for Dummies, which sold almost 2 million copies worldwide, to Bless Your Stress, It Means You're Still Alive, to one of my favorites, Necessary Roughness, New Rules for the Contact Sport of Life.
Well, the last book was 2015 and it's pitch perfect. Speak to grow your business in 7 simple steps. And that's what I do now.
So let's talk a little bit about how you were able to transition from a popular, heavily booked stage speaker, keynote speaker, to helping others thrive and shine on the stage. I mean, you created speeches for TEDx talkers now and executives and celebrities, entrepreneurs, and sales folks. I don't know, like 22 or more you've prepared for the stage, the TEDx stage. Let's talk about that transition. And
Yeah.
how did you know it was time to transition?
Oh, that's a cool story. When I was thinking about this interview, Andy, I actually thought there's a through line. You know how people change careers sometimes and they've studied engineering, but then they end up being in the sales force and then they end. Not with me. I've always been a teacher, always, first, last, and always. And I say teacher because I base it on educator. And as you know, which is my favorite thing to tell people, the root word of educate is a Latin word called educare, Educare. And it doesn't mean put knowledge in and lecture from on high. And you know something other people don't know. Educare means to draw out. Does that blow your mind?
I
This
love that.
changed my life. Because I always thought when people are smiling and nodding when they're listening to you, they're not saying, I agree with you. They're saying, oh, yes, I know that. I know that. Yep, that's what, yeah, that's, I know that. I know that. And so when you're teaching, the best teachers know that you're drawing it out of people, that they have it all in here anyway. People know everything they need to know. And your job as an educator is to draw it out and have them look at it. And in my case, be delighted by it.
Well, that's because you edutain.
Edutain. That's good. Yes, exactly.
Oh, thank you for taking us through that. And you're right. I mean, for folks who are in front of others and educating them, it's good to know. That's so helpful to know that we already have what we need inside of us. Our educator or our edutainer, in Mimi's case, is helping us tap into that. And then we tap into that because we have lived experiences or we have aspirations we may have read about. We have things that we've pulled into our lives through our experiences. that need to now get reformed, transitioned, etc. Well, that brings me to, how did you leave that stage behind? Because it, for many, many years, was what fueled your passion.
Yes. Well, I always say my mission statement is I thought I wanted the bright lights of the stage. I was going to be a Broadway star when I was in college. And then I wanted the bright lights of the keynote stage. But what lights me up now are the bright lights in my client's eyes when we come up with a sentence that she or he can't wait to say.
Oh my gosh. And that has to be a relief for so many people. We come up
Oh,
with a sentence.
sent and we put together the sentences for the speech. And they, when they know and they say, "Oh, Mimi, I love this. I can't wait to do it," then I know my work is done.
Oh my gosh, but you had to figure out your new why. You had to,
Yes,
again, take that role, and you made good money as a speaker, and you wanted to stay financially independent, but you knew it was time. How did you come up with that new why? I know seeing the light in someone in your client's eyes is great, but you had to then come up with your new value proposition,
right.
how to get new clients in a different way.
Well,
What was that like?
it came up simultaneously 2 things. When the universe tells you what's next, that it there's some signals,
Right.
and
If you're listening.
If yeah, and you have to be listening. And one of the signals is that I was standing up in front of 1,500 people. I've had audiences of thousands, but I remember this one particular day, and I caught myself glancing at my watch, which on
Uh-oh.
stage as a keynoter, I shocked myself.
Yeah.
And I freaked out a little bit. They didn't see, the audience didn't see. But the last time I had looked at my watch was when I was in human resources and I was at an unnecessary meeting. And I thought, how do I get out of this? And so my thought was, how many more minutes do I have to stay up here? That's not a great thought for a keynote speaker. Now, at the same time, I was coaching all my women friends for free. I called it mentoring. And they would say, "Oh, Mimi, I have to do a speech. Can you help me?" Of course I can. And I would coach them on the word, and we'd get the words that light them up. And then we would do that. And one of the times I was helping a woman on that very couch in this very room, mm, different apartment. And we did her award speech that she had to accept an award for Business Owner of the Year. It wasn't just a woman business. And she said the 7 words that changed my life. She said, "Mimi, I would have paid you for this." And
Ooh.
I said, "What?" Now, this story has happened for a lot of business owners who decide, they have to be business because something you'd been doing for free and really contributing, that somebody says they'll pay. And I went, "What? How much would you really?" She said, "Mimi, this woman owned multi-million-dollar company." She goes, "All money is an indication of value in the world. And what you've just given me is value." She said, "I hate speaking. I'm a CEO. I can do meetings. But now you've given me a giggle at the beginning, a tear at the end. I get to thank all the people for this award. And now I want to do it. I want to speak." And I went, huh. Now, it took a little time after that, but those 2 things together, looking at my watch and Janet saying, "I would have paid you for this," started percolating in my mind. It was several months after that. I mean, it wasn't instant.
Of course not. You had to pull it together. You had to find out, what is my why for this? And anybody who has a business or is pursuing a dream or an opportunity, you've got to be really clear about your why, because that's how you get up every day. And
Right.
when sometimes there's no evidence of why you should get up. And then to but
Yeah.
also, there are plenty of people out there training folks to speak, so you had to
Yeah.
come up with your unique value proposition. Why me over the other options that were out there? And then, how do I price, package, position myself in the world? And then where do I go and find my clients? And you've always been involved with all the local and national organizations, NABOW, the National Association for Women Business Owners, and all the community things. You've always been giving, giving, giving. Now you were gonna say, "Okay, I've figured out my why," which was what? You
Yeah, to pass the torch.
right?
Is it time to get off the stage? I was turning 60 at that time.
Yeah,
This was 16 years ago
right.
when Janet said those fateful words to me.
I
And
would have paid you for this.
really, I would have paid you for this. And I was shocked because a lot of girl thoughts think that you can't charge your friends for the value that you give. That's a girl thought. I've never met a guy who thinks that. But I had to overcome that. I had to be able to say my price into the mirror and be okay with it.
I love that, saying your price into the mirror. We're chatting with Mimi Donaldson, everyone, and she, after decades of being a well-known, renowned keynote speaker, she transitioned into this wonderful role to assist others, right? To help folks
Yes,
find their voice, claim their value through their words, and then want to get up and speak. A lot of women who are in positions of power know how to get stuff done. But then there's that whole, oh, I've got to communicate what I'm doing there. And of
yeah,
course, and you're in a leadership position, you're being asked to speak here, speak there, be on a panel. But
yeah,
sometimes it's a significant speech that you really want to nail. And I can tell you, listeners, from personal experience, because I've been one of those people that Mimi has mentored over the years. People still talk about my pitch for Goddess Granola, which was my food business that I had, my food manufacturing business that I launched in 2002. People still come up to me to this day because Mimi helped me not just give a pitch, but do what she does so masterfully, which is to get the emotional zing into your speech. As she said, helping Janet have that giggle in the beginning and a tear at the end, because people, as Maya Angelou says, will always remember how you made them feel. So not only is Mimi making her clients feel great, but they're able to get up in front of a stage, in front of folks, in front of that mic, and they are confident they're going to leave people with a feeling that is lasting.
beautiful
Yay.
said, Andy. Thank you.
Beautifully said. Also, I will say that I reached out to Mimi. Folks, I've been unemployable since 1992, but I did fall off the wagon a few times. And one time I had this opportunity to go work for a company. I remember Mimi helping me get an incredible salary. And I lasted all of like 4 months. It was great at that salary, but I had to negotiate that salary. And I reached out to Mimi because I knew she would help me. So now you've been doing this for quite a while. You've helped folks of all walks of life find their voice. And what I really love, and what I hope for anybody of any age, is that you have found your Ikigai. And folks, if you don't know what Ikigai is, research it. The Venn diagram on the internet. It is a Japanese word, and it's spelled Ikigai, and it stands for, one circle is your passion, what you love. The other circle is your vocation, what you're good at. The other circle is your mission, what the world needs. And the final circle is your profession. And so in the middle, you've got this beautiful little centerpiece that is called your Ikigai. And that's your purpose for getting up in the morning, right? For your serving the world. And humans need to be on purpose. It's not an age thing, it's a lifetime thing until you take your last breath. And I love that this happened for you, Mimi, but it's because you listened.
Right. And I think I love your age theme because I think part of it does come with age.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I have clients in their 30s and 40s that already know, but I didn't know in my 30s. I knew I was an educator and I was in human resources and I was doing training, but I didn't know where it would lead. I
Right.
didn't know that.
I know I'm always amazed at folks who are really in that centerpiece at such a young age. While I was sitting there stumbling and falling and figuring things out. But the listening part is important, listeners who are tuning in or watching, that life will talk to you. It'll give you some feedback. You may go, "Oh, hell no, I'm not doing that right now." And you might fight it. I have certainly said no to things that I ended up saying yes to finally after I got knocked around a little, and it was absolutely the right thing for me. But Mimi, as you reflect back on your life, I mean, you and I were indoctrinated to what this time period is supposed to look like. I am 68, you're 76. We had, the TV shows, Mom, Pa Kettle, people like that. They looked what we would call, in quotes, old and
Right.
beat up and oh my gosh. And, you know, how did you see this time period in your life, back in your 40s versus what you're seeing yourself do today?
Well, I was very lucky. You're dealt some aces in your hand when you're born, and you're also dealt some jokers. And so it's not going to work out so well. But my mom and dad were my aces. And my father lived such a full life. He was a doctor, but he didn't stop when he was 65. He got a master's of public health at UCLA and worked on the AIDS project in the 80s for part of his degree. And he said, my whole life has led up to this moment. And he always said that. And he always said, everything in your life leads up to what's happening right now. So, and everybody said, we want to get old like dad because he had passion and purpose. He got up every day with a purpose in mind and a contribution to make to people. And that's just how I was raised. And so aging, I do respect the number. When I was 75, my younger friends gave me a birthday party. A lot of my friends are 20 years, 30 years younger. And they gave me a birthday party. It was a big deal, 75. And they said, what's your lesson now? And I said, respect the number. It doesn't mean, stop doing stuff, but it means that to me, if there's a railing on a staircase, I reach out for the railing. I used to just run down the steps without any railing, just no, I hold the railing. If there's heels or no heels, I do the no heels, put the heels in the car if you really must. There's a respecting the number, and it's not bowing to the ageist tropes,
Right.
but it's being realistic.
I
And so,
love that. Yeah,
yeah,
the realistic view, which is understanding that after the age of 60, your energy portfolio changes. Meaning
well,
what
I
you
have
have.
more energy now. Oh, this is an interesting thing.
Oh, tell us more about that.
Whatever you're doing now, people, if you're only 60 and then you do something else and you have more energy. When I looked at my watch, the keynote speaking thing was draining my energy because it was one-way communication. And I really wanted to have that feedback. And it wasn't enough the audience feedback. I wanted the one-to-one. When I started coaching one-to-one, after an hour of coaching, I get up, I do jumping jacks, I do push-ups. I have to get on my stationary bike because the adrenaline is so high. After I got off the keynote stage, even 17,000 people, my biggest audience, I was drained. I was
Wow.
exhausted. So I always say, I don't know if I would have noticed that as a young person.
Oh my gosh, that is such a great insight. Thank you for sharing that. Energy is relative. You're absolutely right. And to be able and to have the gift of being able to do something that you love. And listeners, you've heard all the folks talking so far in the first 26 episodes of the Don't Be Caged by Your Age podcast. All of them have gone through and done the inner work and listened to life and come out with ways that they can serve. And it has energized them. They have
Okay.
found their Ikigai, whether it was Julie Dennis, the private eye, or Sandra Allison, who has her own resume business at 72 and she's a gamer and shooting zombies for leisure. And neither of them can really see well or walk well, but they are enlivened by what they do. And then, of course, we had the ninja warrior who has the Guinness Book of World Records at the age of 72 for the oldest female competitive ninja athlete. Everybody has different things that are going to light them up. I am more cautious, Mimi, around what I do with my body. So I don't play tennis anymore. I'm not going to be playing pickleball anymore either because I know how rough I was on my body as a young athlete in life.
Exactly.
Versus, so hiking, I wanna be able to walk, I don't wanna have any surgeries that I don't have to have, so how do I preserve, doing the weightlifting to preserve the joints and all of that. I
Yeah.
just love that respect the number.
Respect the number. Those friends that are 30 years younger go biking on real bikes. I bike in my bedroom on the stationary bike. I love the stationary bike. I can close my eyes, headphones on, music blasting. I make my own spin class. I can do it because I've been to enough spin classes at the gym. So I can create my own. But I don't have to be running out every second and doing that. I
That's right.
respect my number.
But and we started to talk about ageism, right? And we have a lot of external ageist messages coming at us every day, especially where you live in Southern California. Everybody's getting something nipped and tucked and injected so that they can quote look younger. For the rest of us out there in the world, trying to deal with the ageism challenges, and we're seeing it a lot in the workplace. And we know women, especially after decades of sexism, are going, "What the heck? Now I got ageism too?" How have you navigated that? Have you bumped into it? Have any of your clients bumped into it as they're starting to do new and exciting things and want to talk about them past the age of 50, 55, and 60?
Yes, a lot of my friends, even close friends, have really felt it. But I always say, and this is kind of spiritual, that there's really nobody out there. And what you're getting is your own reflection back of what you believe about yourself. No one ever says ageist stuff to me. And I think, they go, oh, I love your energy. Your energy's so youthful and da, da, da. So I get all this wonderful validation. But I also don't think of myself as old.
Right. And the word old, like, let's talk a little bit about the word old. I mean, I'd like to reframe that word. How do we do that though? Right? I mean, in a more honoring way. We don't say that about the gorgeous antique we have in our home that we spent thousands of dollars on.
That's why I call it the number. What's your number?
Right.
And it's interesting because, I coach TEDx speakers, and TEDx is my favorite kind of thing because it's 15 to 17 minutes. And I used to think that 40 minutes to an hour was too much. And so I love the TEDx format, but they want your dues paying activity that can answer a need right now in the world. So it's what is your dues paying activity? You have to have some. And some people in their 30s already have dues paying activity.
What's an example of a dues paying activity?
Dues paying activity for me was I trained managers in an aerospace environment that were ex military and all guys. So I paid my dues making it in a man's world, speaking their language, getting them to listen to me and what I had to say, and actually following my instructions because I was the teacher. That didn't just happen my first day in class. Very nervous. But after a while, you get to know how to do it. And, Malcolm Gladwell talks about the 10,000 hours,
Right.
a master. And so I've had 10,000 hours speaking in front of groups. And that's my dues paying activity. So now people who work with me want to work with somebody who's already been on stage. Oh,
That's right.
wow.
And Mimi, can you tell us how you take a client through the process? Because we know that you get super energized. We know that you love talking to them, but they could come to you and be as interesting as a rock. So how do you get here? How do you get well, they may or that might be their self-perception, right? Like, what
Well,
have I got to say that anybody would be interested in?
I do turn a lot of people down. And what it is they think they can do a TEDx. And by the end of a complimentary 30-minute call with me, which I offer everybody, it's on my website and everything. After 30 minutes with me, sometimes I gently say, well, you haven't paid enough dues yet. And perhaps we should just do a marketing speech to grow your business. Because that's the other side of it is that you have to talk about your business in order to grow it. And
Right.
I always say on my website, it says, I want you to be as excited about talking about your business as you are about your business. Because people love their business, but then, oh, do I have to talk about it? Do I have to say it? Do I have to stand up in front of people? Oh,
And if you
no.
want your business to grow or if you want to get it funded, you have to bring that level of passion and tap into someone else's level of passion to get them excited to be a buyer, a
Exactly.
client,
An
or an investor.
investor. Yeah. I've done those kinds of coaching too. So, yeah, you have to have the words and we tickle out the words. So sometimes they're not ready for the TEDx, which is the world, the
Right.
advice for the world. But all the time, people are ready to find their voice and claim their power with their words. Everybody's ready to do that.
Oh my gosh. And everyone, this is Mimi Donaldson. And you go to mimidonaldson.com and you can get that complimentary conversation with her because she really is outstanding. And I know in chatting with you, the delight you take in coming up with the title and then
Oh,
finding that moment that will make them laugh out loud. I mean, you've got a little bit of the comedic in you to help folks have that laugh out loud moment, which puts everybody at ease. How do you do that?
oh, I'm a comedy person. You're born with a certain. I was raised in a household where they loved comedy. I mean, on the record player was Richard Pryor and Buddy Hackett and Nichols and May. And my parents loved humor. And the thing about a comedic view of the world is comedians and funny people always think, oh, there's something funny going on. There's always something funny going on. And all you have to do is find it. And I keep a little notebook all the time. And I'm always writing down funny street signs and like there's just stuff's funny. And the first people who ever paid me to coach them, to speech coach, because it wasn't Janet on the couch, that was mentoring. But the first people were other keynotes at my conferences. And they would say, you gotta laugh. Could you help me with my speech? Because I have to be more funny. Because in the speaking world, if you're funnier, you can charge more money. I know that's
No.
crazy, but it's true.
Oh my gosh, all
Yeah.
right. Writing that thought down. And so you help them because again, you've got a what's the time limit for a TEDx speech?
TEDx is 15 to 17 minutes. It's
Yeah.
just fabulous.
And so you've got to have clear, concise messaging at the same
Yeah.
time, where people are engaged with you. You don't lose them. But and I would highly recommend don't compare yourself with other TEDx speakers, right? Don't listen to somebody else.
Oh, I love watching other TEDx's, but when I was publishing the stress book, people said, "Oh yeah, this what people need is another book on managing stress." But they did need my unique take on managing stress. It's you're not going to invent stress management for your TEDx, but
Right.
you have a certain uniqueness about you and what you've lived in your life that will be your take on stress. And that's what we find in the TEDx. What is their unique take?
Yeah, and that is so important. That is one of your gifts as an educator, as a teacher. You're pulling out of
I
them,
oh, baby, draw it out.
draw it out. And so someone can be very nervous about what am I going to talk about? And oh, people are going to start yawning. But once you work with Mimi, everyone, she is going to find the joy, the humor, and those poignant moments that will touch people's hearts about your story, your unique ability to help people. There's no one else like you. And but speaking of TEDx talks, Mimi, a TED talk, which is different, right? TED
Yeah,
is on the super big TED stage, right?
TED is
Versus
super big. TED, I think, is still London, New York, and Stockholm.
right.
And I have a couple of people who have been on national television and they have books that are national. And we are going for TED. We're going for the big TED. So
Oh,
we've submitted
big
to the big
TED.
TED. We're seeing, yeah, we'll see.
Well, I have to say one of my favorite TED speaks is Elizabeth Gilbert, and she did hers in under
Oh,
10 minutes, and it is the tightest, most extraordinary in front of the room speech I've ever heard. And
yes.
and I wouldn't want anybody to sort of hold that as the bar.
Yes, she's really good. And the woman I tell people to watch before they work with me is Kelly McGonigal. She talks about make stress your friend, and it's McGonigal. I wish I could say I coached her. But her eyes are sparkling the whole time she's talking, and she's a neuroscientist. And she talks about the amount of stress that's actually good for you because you can't be stress free. You'll be
Right.
dead.
You'd be dead.
So, but the way her eyes dance and the way she connects with her audience, that you can tell that she's done it 2,000 times,
Right.
which there's no substitute for that. I always say when you work with me, I'll be your audience and we'll fast forward. We'll try to get 5 years of doing this speech into the 3 months we're going to work together.
And that was my next question. How long does it take you to get someone from point A to point B with their TEDx talk?
Yeah. Well, if they have a book already, and a lot of my TEDxers already have a book, but they don't know what of the book to put in the TEDx. So I do a lot of work before I even talk to them. But it's about 10 to 12 sessions a week apart on Zoom and
Right.
Google Docs, and we write it out logically according to what the audience wants to hear when they want to hear it, which is what I learned in 30 years of keynote speaking. And so we follow a process. As you know, I seem to be very spontaneous, but truthfully, Andy, you know me, I'm extremely
You're
and
so prepared.
I'm so organized, and everything is a process. And there's step one, step two, step three. It's not off the cuff. I have a whole blog on my website about why you should never wing it.
Never.
People
Winging it
say,
is
but I want to speak from my heart. I say, don't you always speak from your heart? Prepare the speech.
right.
If you're speaking, it's going to be from your heart.
That's brilliant.
Wing it.
Oh my gosh. And absolutely right, because winging it is failure coming to you. Not everybody's going to be like Barack Obama and can wing it in certain circumstances, but even he is always prepared with his speeches.
Oh, those speeches are prepared within an inch of their life.
And the deliveries. Woohoo.
Yeah.
If you want a good joke to land, you have to be prepared and you have to have that timing. And I know that's what you help folks do. And also if you're going to do a talk, you want the confidence. You got to have a coach, folks, who's going to help you fine tune it and hone and make it yours, your unique voice, sharing your unique story. And that's what I love about you, Mimi. You aren't basing your edutainment and education and everything in coaching based on who you be. You're basing it all on who they are, your clients. And that's so important. And that is one of your gifts as well.
Well, thank you, Andy. I'm working with a guy right now who says he booked with me because he needed confidence. I said, he doesn't, people cannot be talked into their own confidence.
No, no, no. That is so true. We can all look at somebody and go, my God. Well, and I tell people I don't speak in front of crowds or stages. I'm very comfortable talking into the camera. Thank you very much. And their jaws drop. They're like, I go, trust me. It's not my and and I don't know if I ever want to have the stress or go through that.
No.
It's
Oh,
not
and here's another respect the number thing. When I used to have 14 keynotes at my beck and call, it was like the jukebox with B9. I would press the button, out it would come. I could speak in front of 17,000 people and play them like an orchestra. I have not done that since 2014 in Brazil. I think that was my last big keynote. Now, do I have those 40-minute B9 at my beck and call right now? No, I don't.
no.
Do I want to? No, I don't. Do I want to be on stage in front of thousands of people for 40 minutes straight anymore? Actually, no, thank you. I like this. This is fine.
This is fun. Maybe using your finger, everybody who's listening to the audio going right
Oh,
here, talking with Andy. This is fine.
this is fine.
But yeah, it's very stressful for me personally, and I'm okay that I know that about myself. Let's talk. I have a question around how folks who are over 65, any thoughts that you have that can help them find more purpose if they have some, but they're looking for more who don't have any? Mimi, I don't know if you know this, but it is a World Health Organization has said it's an epidemic retirement. It is costing societies billions of dollars because
Wow.
people are not preparing for the fact they're going to live well past 65. They may have
Yeah.
financially prepared, but they haven't prepared for the fact that, listen, a percentage of folks are going to be thrilled to play with the grandkids and be in their gardens. That is wonderful. But for most, well, seven out of 10 pre-retirees want to keep working.
Right.
And many people want to find something to do that gives their life meaning and framework and purpose and lights them up, as well as maybe fills their pocketbook at the same time. What thoughts do you have to help folks prevent themselves from being caged by their age?
Ah, such a great question. I will just quote two of my clients who are career counselors. I mean, that's what they do. They are career. And what they say is that whole phrase about finding your passion, it's like there's an active verb, finding your passion. What do you mean finding your passion? And what they both have said separately, and they don't even know each other, but they're both my clients, and they've written books about this. The first thing they say is don't go out finding. It's not about finding, it's about looking right now. What are you doing right now that you really love? That really lights your fire, that let and that's what happened with me, is that I was coaching these women friends for free. Oh, I love doing that. And then when Janet said I would have paid you for it, it kind of clicked. Oh, because I still had to pay the rent money. So, wow, it kind of clicked. I could do this, but it was nothing I hadn't done before. So look around. I mean, yeah, you could play with your grandchildren, but are you really good at it? Could you have a could you
Or
do that for
same thing
other
with, yeah,
kids?
same way with landscaping. You might love playing in your garden, but is
Yeah,
it something that's going, and it might light your heart up for your garden, but would you want to do it for others? I think
exactly.
it's so important as you are discovering, being a scientist and pulling back layers and uncovering and discovering, to remember that you can pull on a thread thinking, oh, this might be it. And then you find out it isn't. That's okay.
Okay.
Right, Mimi? It's
Yes.
okay to find out what you don't want. So none of this, oh, I've already gone this way. I have to stick with it. No, 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 no. You're
Right.
an explorer right now as you figure out what you want to do with the precious life. And I'm always saying, Mimi, we didn't come with an expiration stamp on our booty, right? So,
Or an instruction booklet.
oh, or the instruction booklet for each stage and age. And so, our job is to find out, what fuels our passion, but it's again what fuels something that lights us up. And is it in alignment with our personality?
Yes.
And then if, miracles of miracles, provides money into your pocket, yay.
It's
That's
it's beautiful. And
that's
the
a big
great thing about aging is you're not afraid to say no. You're not embarrassed about it. You
right.
can really no, I'm not biking out there where I could hit a tree. I'm biking in in my bedroom on my stationary bike. I mean, some people are good at biking outside at 76. I'm not doing that.
No,
I
that
crashed into a tree at 45 on my bike. So, like, no, this is not happening.
Oh my gosh, I love this conversation. Something fierce. And listeners, we want to know how you feel. So please share your thoughts. And you can do it in a variety of ways on the Instagram feed or LinkedIn or email or on my website. You'll see a mic there. You can leave me a voice message. I'd love to, love, love, love to hear from you. And, please join the pro aging movement, the Age Out Loud movement, and subscribe to the newsletter at don'tbecagedbyyourage.com. I send a newsletter out every month with a recap of everyone I've chatted with, as well as some wonderful resources to help you uncover and discover. So, things about yourself and then what might light you up so that you can thrive after 65. Mimi, thank you so much for joining me for this delicious conversation. Any last thoughts before I wrap things up?
Oh, Andy, you're just such a good host. I mean, I've done interviews before. Your calmness and your pace make it so easy. And I've listened to the podcast. It's just wonderful. It's like
Thank you.
warmth over me when I listen to you. Thank you.
Aw, thank you. And everyone, be sure to visit mimidonaldson.com and connect with Mimi everywhere she glows. You will thank me for that because she's obviously, as you could hear, just so delicious and delightful to spend time with. And as always, I love to end the podcast to remind you that you have so much more to give. The world is not done with you yet. So don't let those internalized ageist beliefs prevent you from pursuing new dreams and opportunities. Come on, you've got it inside of you, and I want to see it. Stay in touch. And until next time, I'm wishing you a delicious day everywhere you glow. Cheers from Boston. Mwah, everybody. Listeners, I'm so grateful you carved out time to tune in and grab the gems from this delicious conversation. Be sure to hop on over to Don't Be Caged by Your Age on LinkedIn or Instagram to share your thoughts about ageism and unretirement. Because in this space, your age doesn't define you, it refines you. If you are inspired by a story you hear, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe, share, rate, and review the podcast. To receive an alert whenever a new show is posted, please join the Don't Be Caged by Your Age newsletter. Every month, you'll receive links to the podcast and helpful resources for creating possibilities for your unretirement days. Thank you for tuning in. I am so excited to hear how you found ways to thrive after 65. Waving from Boston, cheers.